He told me I'm too young to have cancer. Don't worry about it. And I said, I don't think cancer discriminates on your age. And plus, this is a change. This is a very big change in what it felt like. And I know it's changed. And he said, well, let's just check you up in 6 months. And I knew that's when my alarm bell went up. I said, I'm not going to sit and wait 6 months to see, because I know this is not right. I was 29 years old, and I was working at a hospital in Montana, and I did monthly self-breast exams. And one month I felt a really small, hard lump in my right breast, very, very small. So I was a little worried about it, and I thought, well, I should go see my provider. So I went to the doctor. We did a mammogram and talked to a surgeon, and they said it was so small, it was one little calcification, that they weren't very concerned, but if it ever changed, that I should go back to the doctor. So then step down several years. I had a new baby, 18-month-old son, and I was breastfeeding one day, and I felt that area, and that area had turned into what felt like a cluster of grapes. I almost felt like a bunch of hard little marbles in there. And I said, this isn't normal. I know this isn't right. So I wasn't too concerned, because I don't get too wound up about things. I take everything step by step. So I went to my provider, and by this time I was in Canada, and he said, you're young. I was 33. He said, so I'm not worried about it. Let's have you come back in 6 months and see if it's still there. And I went home and I said, that doesn't sit very well with me, because I know this isn't normal for me. I know I had that lump when I was 29 and nothing changed in all this time. And now with the pregnancy and breastfeeding, this turned into like a wildfire of lumps. It was all over this one area. So I went to a different provider to get a second opinion, and she was great. She said, you do your breast exam, you know your body. If you think it's abnormal, let's get it checked out. So she ordered a mammogram, and that one little spot of calcifications turned into a 6 centimeter area of calcifications. So she said, we need to get that checked. And even the surgeon said, I'm not too worried about it with your age, and it doesn't look bad. So they did a biopsy, and it did come back cancer. So after that point, they went in and took a large section of it out to do pathology. When it came back, it wasn't invasive out of the ducts yet. So they said I could have half of my breast removed and do radiation, or I could do a double mastectomy. And so I think I liked the numbers. I said, give me the percentages. And my doctor said, since this came when you were pregnant, if you want to have another child, there's a really good chance that will come back. And also he said, since you're so young, you're 33, the chance of your cancer coming back is about 55%. And he said, you are going to add on to that every year because of your youth. So I said, what's the chance if I have a double mastectomy? And he said, probably less than 2% chance for life. And I said, I like that better than the 55% going up every year. When they did the mastectomy, they took out 6 lymph nodes, and they were negative, so I didn't have to have radiation or chemo. And my surgeon told me if I would have waited that extra 6 months, it would have been outside of the ducts, and then I would have had a whole different scenario. It would have involved chemo and radiation, things like that. So I was glad I was on it. I was aware of it all that time, but I wasn't concerned because it wasn't changing. It wasn't painful. It wasn't changing in size. But that one time I remember sitting there in the rocking chair and I said, this is not normal. Something's changing. I felt so awkward sitting in the oncology room, because here I was 33 and everybody else was in their 60s and 70s and 80s. And they would look at me like I was in the wrong waiting room. And I was like, no, I'm in the right one. And people would ask me, like, why are you here? I said, because I have breast cancer. And they couldn't believe I was so young. But that's, breaking that myth of it's only going to happen to somebody older. And so just as I was saying, there's different types of cancer. Mine was fueled by the hormones of my pregnancy. And that's what made it more aggressive. So there's so many different types, and why, they still don't know really what causes it. What is causing, if you knew what caused breast cancer, they could prevent it. but they don't know that yet. So the best thing we can do is be our own advocate and get your mammograms. And since I was 33, my sisters both had to start getting their mammograms 10 years younger than that. So they had a baseline in their 20s. And so my daughter will have to have early screening now since I had breast cancer so young. But that is us, again, being advocates, saying if something comes along, not saying it is, but if it does, we're going to be prepared. We're going to know what to do and get on it when it's early. Have a better survival rate. I enjoy life more. I think I want to live life to the fullest, because you never know when that's going to happen. I don't take for granted health. I think when I see other people going through it, I can relate. It's good for me when we're doing an ultrasound on somebody to say, and I've been there when you're getting all this information, you don't know, is this lump cancerous? Is it not? What are we going to do? To be able to tell them, I've been there, just take it step by step. Everything's a step. Try not to get ahead of yourself. It helps me relate to people in that way. But mainly it's just to love my family, my kids, tell everybody you love them, and live life.